our journey is just beginning. Tales of the Seven Kingdoms are written in our blood.
So, HBO Max just dropped a bunch of news, teasing 19 new and upcoming shows. A few of the highlights include The Last of Us Season 2, White Lotus Season 3, The Penguin, Creature Commandos, and Dune: Prophecy. We can't cover them all, but the one that really caught our eye is the Game of Thrones spin-off, which we already talked about in our video, Exclusive Look at 2025-2026 Game of Thrones spin-offs. Today, though, we're diving into the first footage from the Night of the Seven Kingdoms teaser. Let's start with a quick rundown for those who might not be familiar with A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. HBO's Game of Thrones franchise has already adapted a bunch of George R.R. Martin's works, including A Song of Ice and Fire, which became the main Game of Thrones series. These shows explore the fantasy medieval world of Westeros and the intense power struggles among the various houses and nobles in the Seven Kingdoms. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is set in the timeline between House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. Martin first published the stories about Dunk and Egg in 1998 with The Hedge Knight, and he completed the trilogy with The Sworn Sword in 2003 and The Mystery Knight in 2010. These three novellas were later compiled into a collection titled A Night of the Seven Kingdoms in 2015. The upcoming HBO Max series will focus on the first novella, but don't be surprised if they add some new twists to keep it fresh and unpredictable. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. The Hedge Knight has just expanded its cast with 7 more stars. The upcoming series already features Peter Claffey as Dunk and Dexter Saul Ansel as Egg, along with Finn Bennett, Bertie Carvel, Tanzan Crawford, Daniel Ings, and Sam Spruell. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the new additions include Henry Ashton as Daeron Targaryen, who has prophetic dreams and is the son of King Maekar or Targaryen. Joining him are Edward Ashley as Sir, Stefan Fossaway, Daniel Monks as Sir, Manfred Dondarrion, Tom Vaughan Lawler as Plumber, and Danny Webb plays Sir Arlen of Pennytree. Sean Thomas plays Raymond Fossaway, and Yusef Kirkour plays Steely Payday. Many of these actors are already familiar faces on TV. Henry Ashton, for example, has appeared in shows like Outlander as Sandy Hammond, My Lady Jane as Lord Stan Dudley, and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder as Max Hastings. Edward Ashley recently starred as Major Jack Kidd in the Apple TV Plus World War II drama Masters of the Air, alongside Austin Butler, Callum Turner, and Barry Keoghan. He's also been in series like The Terror, Sense8, and Last Tango in Halifax. Other new cast members bring their own impressive backgrounds. Daniel Monks was in Ricky Stenicki. Tom Vaughan Lawler played Ebony Maw in Avengers Endgame. Danny Webb starred in Alien 3, 1992, as Robert Morse. Sean Thomas appeared in How to Have Sex as Badger, and Yusef Kirkour played Marshal Davout in Napoleon. With such a talented and experienced group, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight looks set to bring the world of Dunk and Egg to life in a big way. While it's still unclear how Ashton's Daeron Targaryen will connect with the character of the same name introduced in House of the Dragon, it seems this cast is more than capable of delivering the depth and presence needed to make these connections work. As for what we know about the storyline, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight centers on Ser Duncan the Tall, a legendary Hedge Knight known for his fighting skills and reputation, which gets mentioned in the original Game of Thrones series. In the Game of Thrones universe, a Hedge Knight is basically a wandering knight with no master, traveling around Westeros, looking for work and competing in tournaments to make a living. The prequel series will dive into Ser Duncan's adventures as a Hedge Knight long before the events of Game of Thrones. It'll explore the history of Westeros and the Targaryens between the timelines of House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. HBO has revealed that the series is set about a century before the events of Game of Thrones. Specifically, Dunk's story kicks off with the tourney at Ashford, which takes place in 209 AC, after Conquest. This means the show is set roughly 70 years after House of the Dragon, and 90 years before the timeline of Game of Thrones. During this time, House Targaryen still rules the Iron Throne, with their last dragons having died out just a few decades earlier. Depending on whether the show starts before or after 209 AC, either King Daeron II Targaryen or King Aerys Fury Targaryen will be on the throne. Even though houses Valerian and Hightower will have already seen better days, we can expect to see prominent houses like Stark, Lannister, and Baratheon still playing major roles in the story. As you probably know, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight, is based on George R.R. Martin's series of novellas called Dunk and Egg. But what you might not know is that the series has included 3 short stories so far, starting with The Hedge Knight. This first novella takes us through Dunk's early days as a hedge knight and introduces us to Egg when they meet on their way to the tourney at Ashford. The second novella, The Sworn Sword, dives deeper into what it means to be a sworn knight in Westeros. And then there's The Mystery Knight, the third novella, where Dunk and Egg are invited to a wedding feast that features a tournament with a unique prize. George R.R. Martin has hinted that he plans to write more Dunk and Egg stories, so it looks like the prequel series will go beyond these existing novellas. Plus, the show will likely build on the legacies of Sir Duncan the Tall and King Aegon Vif Targaryen that we've heard about in the original Game of Thrones series and the A Song of Ice and Fire books. So, there's a lot of exciting content to look forward to. One thing I bet a lot of us are curious about is whether we'll see any dragons in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Well, here's the scoop. The Hedge Knight will actually be the first Game of Thrones series without dragons. The last Targaryen dragon bites the dust in 153 AC, which is over 50 years before the events of this prequel, so don't expect any Targaryens riding dragons. However, there will be dragon eggs in the mix, so it's possible we might see characters trying to hatch them. That said, if the series sticks close to Tales of Dunk and Egg, we'll quickly find out that Egg is actually Aegon V Targaryen, the youngest son of King Maekar Warn. Aegon, or Egg, wants to experience life as the common folk do, so he chooses Dunk, a skilled but low-born soldier, to travel with him. Through their adventures, Egg gets a taste of everyday life, while Dunk learns about chivalry and honor. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is set during one of the rare peaceful periods in Westeros, but even then, it's setting up the groundwork for the conflicts we see in Game of Thrones. Another thing on our minds is whether any characters from Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon might make an appearance in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. While House of the Dragon didn't feature any Game of Thrones characters, the new prequel might include at least one familiar face. The character most likely to show up is Maester Aemon. In Game of Thrones, Maester Aemon is revealed to be Prince Aemon Targaryen, the older brother of King Aegon V Egg Targaryen. So it's pretty likely that a younger version of Aemon could appear in the spin-off. Unfortunately, it seems we probably won't be seeing any characters from House of the Dragon in this new series. And speaking of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the first footage preview showcases some exciting glimpses. We see Dunk, played by Peter Claffey, in his armor, wielding his sword, and even landing a punch. There's also a shot of the young Egg, played by Dexter Saul Ansel, sitting by a fire. It's also confirmed that the spin-offs episodes will be released in 2025. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below.